You know, if I can describe Iron Man 3, it's good, but a huge letdown. I own both Iron Man movies. This is one of Marvel's best movies. It's one of the classic Marvel films. Like 20 years from now, you're gonna have a list of classic Marvel movies. And the very first Iron Man is that. This one is solid. It's a decent sequel. It's an okay follow-up to this. I thoroughly enjoy this movie. I've watched it many times, and I really like it. And in fact, it's got one of my all-time favorite characters, Black Widow, played by Scarlett Johansson. But that's a story for another time. However, Iron Man 3 did not give me this type of feeling. When I saw the Mandarin, I was expecting him to be a lot like a Bane from The Dark Knight Rises. To be this badass villain that breaks Tony Stark to the point of desperation in many ways. Not physically, obviously, but mentally. You know, he plays with Iron Man's PTSD from the Avengers. He fucks with his head. And it would be a very emotional, drama-driven story. However, I'm spoiling this thing. And my hardcore comic book fans will thank me for spoiling this. The Mandarin is not in this fucking movie. At all. If you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The Mandarin is not a badass fucking villain. He's not. No, he's apparently an actor. Yeah, the character of the Mandarin turns out to be an actor. Not a terrorist. Not a villain that's there to break Tony Stark. You know, not the whole 10 rings shit, you know, from this movie. Look, fucking matter. The Avengers. When I walked out of that movie, when I walked out of this movie, I mean, when that was done, and this was done, I had this feeling of triumph, this feeling of, yes, I want to see that again. I loved it. I loved this movie and this movie for very different reasons. I love this. I like this. Iron Man 3 is a freaking disappointment. It's not the third movie in a Marvel trilogy. It didn't break the Spider-Man 3 and X-Men 3 reputation of the third film not being as good as the first two. It didn't break that mold. Like I said, the Mandarin was a fucking letdown. He's not a badass motherfucker. He's not the villain I was looking forward to. I had some high hopes for this movie. I was really hoping that Iron Man 3 would be the Dark Knight Rises of the Iron Man movies. By that I mean, when I was hearing like, oh, it's a Tony Stark story. It's not really, you know, it's not really an Iron Man movie. It's a Tony Stark film. Like this. Cool. Great idea. Looking forward to it. I respect that it was going to go into a very emotional route. Like this movie. I was wondering if I hated this movie. I really don't. I really don't hate Iron Man 3. If you... My God. Iron Man 3 just... You know, I didn't have that high expectations for Iron Man 3. I expected it to be almost as good, or just as good as this. And I expected it to be a little bit better than this. And I thought it would have some elements from this. Meaning that it would be an emotional take on the character. You know, like I was really looking for that moment of triumph. Alright, but let me look at the positive aspects of this movie before I lose my fucking mind. Okay. The action in this film is really, really, really good. Okay? If you don't know jack shit about the comic books, well, if you're watching this review and you've sat through this much of it, then you'll probably enjoy it as a summer movie. It's a fun summer action movie, you know? Like The Avengers. It's not as good as the first film, definitely not as good as The Avengers, but no Marvel movie, I think, will ever top The Avengers. In my opinion. No Marvel movie will be able to top it. And Iron Man 3 is definitely not going to top it. But ignoring that, you know, Iron Man 3 does have some really good moments. You know, in a way it does reflect the emotional level of Tony Stark. Whatever the hell Guy Pearce plays, he's pretty good. In fact, Guy Pearce's character is the main fucking villain. He's the main bad guy in the movie. So, what can I say about this movie? Other than that. Okay. Pepper Potts does have a really cool badass moment, and some people say it's the comic booky of the Iron Man movies, and you know what, I'll agree with that. In a post-Avengers world, you can go a little bit crazy. Go on. You just fucking establish aliens in the cinematic universe and gods and shit. Like, get an Iron Man army, Iron Man built this shit, built this whole suit thing in his spare time. I can buy that. Just, okay. It's not it's, you know what? It's a good movie-going experience. Enjoy it for what it is. Because, as an action movie, it was really good. As a follow-up to The Avengers, not so good. As a start to Phase 2 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, So I'm signing off with saying Iron Man 3 is a 7 out of 10. I'll probably buy it on Blu-ray. Live long and prosper and have a great day.